It's not a holiday, says Lachlan Morton, an Australian professional cyclist more than one-third of his way through an epic quest to cycle around Australia. More than a century ago, in June 1899, Arthur Richardson left Perth to ride the circumference of the Australian continent. He returned 245 days later. Richardson's epic journey was part of a movement of long-distance cycling known as the Overlanders, which flourished at the turn of the century. In the 125 years since, dozens of Australians have attempted to ride around the country. The current record stands at 37 days, 20 hours and 45 minutes, set by Queenslander David Alley in 2011. But almost 2 weeks into his own quest, Morton, who rides for professional Team EF Education Easy Post, is on track to blitz that time. It's good, he tells Guardian Australia by phone during a brief rest stop. Tough, obviously, but we're having a good time. The 32-year-old set off from his hometown of Port Macquarie earlier this month. Last weekend, he reached Darwin. His progress can be followed via an online tracker. By Tuesday he had passed Kununurra and was heading southwest towards Broome, almost 6,000 kilometers into the journey. The rules for official attempts around Australia provide that cyclists must cover at least 14,200 kilometers and pass through 6 locations: Sydney, Brisbane, Darwin, Broome, Perth, Esperance, Adelaide and Melbourne. Otherwise, riders can set their own route, although they typically ride anti-clockwise to take advantage of prevailing tailwinds. Last year, Lessa Ashford became the first woman to complete the lap. Morton was a promising road cyclist in his early career and rode for several years on the World Tour, winning the Tour of Utah and contesting the Vuelta a España and Giro d'Italia. But the Australian has always had an adventurous streak. In 2014, Morton and his brother Angus rode from Port Macquarie to Uluru, a 2,500 kilometers ride, and turned the journey into a documentary, Their Bounce. It was a hit within the cycling world and led to equivalent documented rides around the world. It's wildly different, Morton says of his switch from racing to these long-distance epics. This is such an individual and mental thing. The demands on the body in doing something like this are far greater. You have to be able to push yourself when things are less than ideal, whereas in a professional environment, everything is set up to be quite ideal.